Welcome to Portsmouth This Week. I'm Conley Zani, your host. This show is under the auspices of Rich Rayner, our Portsmouth Town Administrator. Together, Rich, myself, and the entire Portsmouth This Week team are on a mission to build community. We do that by bringing you accurate and timely information about the issues and events that impact you. We introduce you to the faces, the leaders, the personalities in this magical place in which we live. I am very excited today to be trash talking with Rich Rayner himself. Hello.
Hi, Connie.
Rich, you were last on the show and we were talking trash.
Yeah.
And we post these videos on YouTube and everybody goes bananas on Facebook, and we're going to talk about that.
Okay.
I want to start just with a little update, though, on where we are right now. I know that we passed our deadline to sign up. People can still sign up, and we'll revisit that.
Yeah.
But just how are the signups going?
Yeah, they're going well. It's slower than we expected, but right now there's about as many people signed up for curbside as there are for the transfer station. So it's about neck and neck right now. So there's,
okay.
Right now we're a little over 2,000 residents signed up for, or households signed up for curbside, and there's about 2,000 people, or transfer station. There's about 2,000 signups for the curbside.
Okay, all right. So still accepting applications and everything, and
absolutely. I would like to address that right up front. The March 28th was not a deadline, i.e. that if you don't sign up on March 28th, you're not eligible for the program. We were trying to encourage as many people as possible to sign up by March 28th because the vendor needs to design the routes.
Yeah.
And we need to determine where to deliver the bins. That's what that's about.
Right.
So March 28th was a day that we could still guarantee that if you sign up, either by paying a deposit or the full price, you'll get your trash picked up that first week in July.
Right, with no delays.
With no delays.
Right.
That, right now, that is still our goal, and that is still possible. But the longer people either procrastinate or are
get mad and fight
making up their minds, the harder it is going to be for the town to guarantee that you've signed up for the program and you will get your trash picked up that first week in July.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, right? Anybody that's run
Yeah.
any kind of business gets that, right? Yeah. So we're going to come back to that because sure. I do want a good portion of this program to address sort of kind of those frequently asked questions. Let's call them that, right? But
absolutely.
But I actually want to start with this misinformation that is out there about this whole deal. Yeah. So what I did more homework for this show than I normally do, and I went on Facebook, which I try not to when it comes to this kind of stuff, because topics like this get really, really toxic really fast. But it is really overwhelming, the amount of misinformation. So what I did is I asked ChatGPT, AI, I asked AI to summarize all the comments and kind of group it into some themes, right or wrong.
Okay.
But it was actually helpful because, I mean, there's hundreds of comments. So I fed them all. I just fed them, copy-pasted right in there and said, tell me what people are angry about, right?
This will be fun.
So, yeah, so I'm going to hit you with a few of them and we can talk. So let's talk about this for a little bit, just in the spirit of really trying to address what's being said out there, right?
Sure.
Like let's come at it from honor everybody's feelings, but like just try, if there's misinformation about what's true or what's not, let's see if we can fix that. So the first theme was actually, getting my glasses out here, frustration with governance and transparency. That's what ChatGPT called it. So residents, again, it's just some residents feel the process involved backdoor deals. They blame past and current officials. They think that the town should simply rescind the ordinance and let residents choose their own solution. So can you speak a little to that? Again, understanding that not everybody's as immersed in it as you are and the team, right? So what's been happening and what would you say to that?
Well, first, I want everybody to understand there's no backroom deals. That's just not the way your town officials run the government. You have very honorable counselors, a very professional staff. So that just doesn't happen. Everything with respect to the curbside and the transfer station discussions has been held in the open. If you'll remember, we've had huge meetings at the high school. There was discussion about what the future of the transfer station is going to be. Are we going to go to curbside? If we go to curbside, what's it going to look like? What would be required in curbside? We've had a consultant with us attached to our hip the entire way. And it's not just this iteration. This has been an open discussion for my entire tenure. This is one of the very first things I was asked to take a look at when I got here 10 years ago. So this has been a 10-year discussion. It's been an initiative by the council and previous councils to explore the possibility of curbside, and it's finally coming to fruition. This is something that they've asked us to do. It's all been discussed in public, and the information is available online. And give Town Hall a call. We'll be more than happy to answer your questions.
Yeah. There's some input on Facebook about this curbside program is all about, it's a secret way to shut down the transfer station. I might not be, I might be saying it wrong, but the sense is that all of this is just a backdoor way of pulling the transfer station out from everybody, like by creating this new program. I
think there's a lot of information and to be discussed wrapped in that one question, but I'll keep it as simple as I can. Bottom line is, give or take, we'll round it off, there's about 6,900 eligible residents, households in town that can use one or the other. We only have a little over 2,000 households signing up for the transfer station. So the overwhelming majority, 2/3 almost of our population, is doing something else with their trash.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have to assume that the onesies and twosies taking their trash to work with them, take them out. They're using subscription service. So the
majority are using.
The majority are doing something else.
Okay.
There was never a discussion about closing the transfer station. If you go back and look at the tapes and review the minutes, the discussion started out about modifying the use of the transfer station, implementing a curbside program for the residents of Portsmouth, but using the transfer station as part of that curbside service. So you would take your C&D, your yard waste, your sheet metals, your bricks, all that stuff that you can't put in a bin at curbside. That's what the transfer station would have been used for under that concept. That caused a lot of discussion because people felt that, we like it the way it is. And that came to the council in January, I want to say almost 2 years ago, over 2 years ago. And the council voted that, no, we're going to keep the transfer station as is, but we want you, i.e. the staff, come back with a curbside program. And they put parameters on a curbside program. We want the curbside program, we want to reduce the number of trucks on our roads. We want to be at green. We want the trucks to be newer so they're not destroying the roads. We don't want pay as you throw. We want curbside picked up. We want yard waste picked up. And that's what was worked on for the last 2 years.
Lots of themes that you're trying to satisfy a lot of needs.
The short answer to your question is no, nothing's happening with the transfer station. The transfer station will stay as is for as long as financially possible. So the people out there beating that gong
and saying this is a secret plot.
It's an enterprise fund, and as long as people are willing to pay to use it, it will stay open.
All right, great. So that is takeaway number one.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Legal and contractual considerations. All right, so it's summarized. The town has entered into this legal and binding contract with Mega. Breaking this contract could lead to lawsuits and cost the town money, and we might have to compensate Mega for capital expenses. There are some folks that are like, this sure was structured poorly. So can you speak to some of that? Maybe a little bit. Let's tell the people how the process went from a contractual legal standpoint, and then what are the consequences of breaking it? we're not going to. That's
No.
what this current council decided. They're not going to. But maybe we can talk about some of the expenses around that, because nobody knows.
So it's, again, a few issues wrapped up in the one there, but
That's right.
part of the argument is that the town had no right to do this. So we had no right to enter into a contract for a sole source provider for curbside. That issue has been settled in federal court multiple times. Municipalities do have that right, should they choose to exercise it. So yes, Portsmouth did have the right to do this. With respect to the crafting of the program, the RFP, and the subsequent ordinance, that was done using, obviously there was a lot of staff work involved, a lot of research involved, and also we hired a consultant to help guide us through the process.
And at least two councils have viewed this contract.
Two councils have reviewed this. Now, obviously, the council is currently in place. They had reservations, which were discussed in public multiple times.
Okay.
Ultimately, the council did not repeal the ordinance, and that is the ordinance in Portsmouth. The second part of that is, what would be the implications of not doing that ordinance? Well, the ordinance was referred to in the RFP, so all the bidders, Waste Management, Reynolds, you name them, they all had the opportunity to bid on this RFP.
To have all of Portsmouth.
Which stated very clearly this was going to be a sole source contract to provide curbside service for Portsmouth, and that there would be an ordinance passed to support that codicil, that very opening sentence of the RFP,
right,
which is what the council did. So to not pass the ordinance put us in danger of a violation of a contract which was awarded to, in this case, Mega. But any contractor would have done the same thing, I'm convinced. But Mega issued a demand letter to the council when it was looking very, it was
considering not doing it.
Yeah, it was looking like it was going to be repealed. And at that point, you have to consider, if you're on the defense, what have they invested in this? They've obviously bid on a contract which is going to, we told them we would pay this much money because that's what they said they would charge us. We agreed. So there's that lost income. And then anything else that they had put into the development of this program for Portsmouth, which ultimately we probably would have been liable for.
Do you have a number in your head, or is that too dangerous to put out there?
Well, it's about a $6 million contract.
Okay.
So
yeah, we don't know what the damages would be in a lawsuit.
Exactly.
Per se.
Plus, to kickstart this thing, we had to order bins. So ultimately, now we held off on ordering the bins as soon as we knew that this was potentially in the works. But let's say we had ordered the bins. There's another, I think about $1 million there. So we weren't talking small money. We were talking a very serious lawsuit that would have cost the town money, not just in liability, but in legal fees. I mean, lawyers aren't cheap.
Right. Okay. All right. Good. So, I mean, good. But that's what's being said out there. Thank you for trying to at least give your perspective on that, right?
Sure.
People are going to think whatever they want to think. They got a bunch of attorneys out there, right? All right. So then there was a theme 3 of 5 here. Calls for alternative solutions. Like, why can't I have my own? Why can't I pick? This is unfair that you're picking for me. And I guess maybe you just answered that because you said this is what municipalities get to do.
There's a couple things there. Again, obviously, I think the thrust of that is, I want to have the right to pick any service provider that I choose to contract with. While I understand that, and that's how it was, it goes back to the federal rulings. If a municipality decides that they're going to exercise their right to do sole providers, then of course the courts will uphold that. So the Portsmouth does have the right to do that. The second is...
Can before you move on?
Sure.
Just, again, I'm reading comments today. There's comments like, gosh, it feels like, I'm trying to remember, one was something like, so if the town says we all have to own a Prius, like that's not right, right? So how is that kind of a, not the equivalent argument?
Well, I would phrase it another way, which is what the courts have done. We have the right to provide a professional police service. We have the right to provide a professional firefighting service, an ambulance service, a public works service. You don't get the right to call whichever police department you want to call. That's a municipal government service. And
so
this
the
is
courts
seen
have
as
said trash is a municipal government service.
They have
so
upheld that repeatedly.
It's a false equivalency to say that it's like
It's a
telling
false
us
equivalency.
to have a certain car or have a certain whatever. But again, that's
Well,
just,
but
I can
now
see why
they
people
can't tell
are
you
like,
you can have a certain car, but they certainly do put restrictions on the emissions of cars. All right, so you don't have the right to just go out and buy a car that exceeds government emissions. So while I understand, that people can be frustrated by that, I mean, we're Americans, and by God, we're free and we can do what we want. But there were other goals that the council asked us to solve, not the least of which were there are too many providers, subscription providers in Portsmouth with too many trucks running through our neighborhoods repeatedly throughout the week. And we were asked to provide that. Wear and tear on the roads, pollution, drippings onto the roadways, multiple different carts from different vendors. So you may have a street in the neighborhood that has garbage bins out every single day of the week.
I can't tell you, I'm Commonfence Point, and I've gotten stuck behind garbage trucks, and it makes me 10 minutes late to wherever I'm going, right? Like it's just kind of crazy. All right, that's great. Thank you, Rich. All right, theme number 4, misinterpretations and informed decision making. So in all these comments, there was a theme of residents admitting that they misunderstood the proposal and only realized later how restrictive this feels to them now, right? So let's talk about that.
I guess restrictive, I guess, in a sense that there's a sole provider.
Yeah, I think that's, again,
however,
maybe similar.
If you're not happy with that, Portsmouth has done something quite unique. I mean, I don't think many people are, we operate 3 different trash services in town. So you have Prudence Island Transfer Station, you have the Headley Street Transfer Station, and come July we're going to have curbside. And we also provide support for the residents of Hog Island. So we're very serious about how we handle the trash, and I think the council has done a unique thing in providing as much choice as possible to handle the trash efficiently and economically. It's the best answer I think I can come up with.
Okay, so last big theme here that I think is an important one, which is impact on vulnerable residents and elderly, single-person households feeling pricing is unfair. Shouldn't there be a senior discount? Shouldn't there be a biweekly pickup option? Again, thematic coming out of all of that.
Well, a couple ways to look at that. First off, let's talk about seniors or people that don't have the ability to wheel the bin down to the curb. We did hear that, so it was built into the contract that you could have door service. You'll have to work that out with, we will hire a waste and diversion manager paid for through the enterprise funds, and you can get that service. With respect to the cost.
When you say that, that means our taxes don't go up because the enterprise fund is there. I just want to be very clear before somebody screams about that.
This is not paid for with any tax dollars.
Gotcha.
Now, a former counselor would say that in a way it kind of is because there's a tremendous amount of staff time that's gone into this. But
just
that's
trying to
what we get
head
paid
off
to do.
some more misinformation out there. People,
but this isn't being paid for with tax dollars. And so that leads to the argument, well, why isn't it paid for in our tax dollars? Well, the reality is that trash at one point was in your tax base. And I'm not going to go into the reasons why it's not anymore. Everybody who's been following the issue understands what happened. But the bottom line is it's so expensive for us to put trash back into the trash base, we would go over the levy cap. We're only allowed to increase the levy by no more than 4% each year. And no council ever wants to even go to the 4%. So that restricts. So we would spend everything getting trash into the trash space, and we wouldn't be able to pay anybody. We wouldn't have any contracts. We wouldn't be able to do anything. So we would have to go to the state in a perfect world and say, we need permission to go over the cap. But that's not a real option because this isn't an emergency. So you can only do that if there's an emergency, a school caves in or something like that. This is not an emergency, so there's no way we can neatly fold this into the cap in a budget. We would have to do this over a series of years, and maybe that's what the council will ask us to do.
Okay. Can you do a quick comparison, especially to Middletown? Because there was a lot of, this is not what ChatGPT was saying, but I certainly noticed a lot of Middletown sure got it right, and I don't know what Middletown's doing. So I'd love you to school me on that.
Little history lesson. So, yes, Middletown faced this, and Middletown has curbside, but they didn't pass an ordinance. Okay. Middletown had a transfer station that was sitting on Navy property on Defense Highway, which essentially had to be closed overnight. They were told, you got to move out. Back when that happened, there was no real subscription service on Aquidneck Island. It just wasn't a big thing on the island back then. Newport had it in a tax base. You had a transfer station in Middletown. You had a transfer station in Portsmouth. Transfer station in Middletown closes. Oh my God. What happens? The administrator and the council there, we have to provide something for our residents. This is going away. So they didn't need to pass an ordinance. There was only one game in town. So many people have signed up for the program, and they have a mature program, plus they have pay-as-you-throw, that people are happy with the service. You can subscribe to a private service if you want to in Middletown, but they can't beat the price. So it's a mature program that where the bins are paid for, they have pay-as-you-throw going into the program, and they have revenue streams which have kept the price down, which really doesn't make it a threat to the program to have subscribers. In Portsmouth, I asked the town administrator in Middletown, give me all of your data, which he freely gave to me. I did it both ways. I plugged our assumptions into his model. I plugged their reality into our model. The difference was tens of dollars. It was about a $50 difference between the two programs. Their recycle coordinator, diversion manager is partly paid for by another department. They have pay-as-you-throw. We don't have pay-as-you-throw. They have revenue streams. They get the recycling rebate. They get scrap metal, and all that stuff goes into their program. So, and they're not competing with themselves. We're competing with ourselves in the sense that we're offering people a transfer station and we're offering people curbside. So we won't be able to get to the numbers that they have. They got about 6,000 signups for their Middletown curbside program. We can't do that unless everybody abandons the transfer station, and it was very clear that people don't want to do that. So at the most, we're only going to get a little over 4,000 signups for the transfer station. So yes, the numbers might be a little higher. It's an enterprise fund. It has to pay for itself. Over time, our bins will be paid for. That's factored into the price right now. So that will help reduce the cost. We anticipate, we ran into this program with an assumption of 4,000 signups. If we get more than 4,000 signups, that'll bring the cost down. Once we determine what the true costs of some of this, the assumptions are, that will hopefully help reduce the cost. And then as we start getting other sources of revenue streams, other grants or what have you, that will help reduce the cost as well. But
if we don't get the 4,000 signups, are we in trouble?
Trouble, it depends on your perspective. I don't think we'll be in trouble because the numbers just don't bear that out.
I guess I mean,
let's say what you say. If we don't reach 4,000, what happens? I think is a better way to phrase the question. And no, we're not in trouble. That gets factored into the price the following year. But we are looking at a grant that will help reduce the cost of the bins. So if we don't get the 4,000 signups, it's looking very hopeful that we're going to get the grant for the bins, and that'll help wash it out and give us more time to get the signups. The other thing is going back to what we started with at the beginning of the discussion. We have about 2,000 signups right now.
Yeah.
So I think that we are going to be on track to get to the 4,000 by July. There may be some people that are unhappy because they're going to have to wait a week or 2 weeks maybe to get their trash picked up.
Because they've signed up
because they signed up a little too late.
Okay.
However, trouble, the way you phrased it, doesn't kick in until a year from now.
Right.
Because you don't get prorated pricing until March of next year. So April, May, June, would be prorated.
Right.
So anybody that signs up between that for a year, as people realize, because here's what's going to happen, I know that
July 1st.
Yeah, July 1st. Here, two things are going to happen on July 1st. One, you're going to go to put your trash away, and you're going to realize, if you're a subscriber to a private service, my bins aren't here anymore. Okay, what do I do with my trash? All right, I better go down to town hall and ask what's going on. And two, you're going to realize that the town is going to be more than helpful in trying to rectify this for you. We're going to bend over backwards to get you signed up, get those bins delivered, and get your route planned.
Take your trash as fast as possible.
We will do everything we can for you. But we know we're going to get this crush of people, and we're not that worried about if we don't get the 4,000. It's going to be more of a pain for the resident who didn't sign up.
Right. So the takeaway really is, please just, if you're thinking you're going to do this, rather than scream on Facebook, just do it so that you're in the routes. There's no delay.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have to choose. You're basically either going to have to do this or you're going to do the transfer station.
One or the other, and it's fine.
Unless you're burning your trash in your backyard, which you can't really do.
Please don't do that.
Please don't do that. Okay. So listen. We've just got about a minute left, and I think this was an interesting discussion, like kind of trying to hit this stuff head on. Yeah. You'll also be very pleased to know that not only did I ask ChatGPT what is being said out there, I then said, hey, can you take all these comments and these questions that people have and bump it up against the frequently asked questions on the town's website and see where are the big holes, like what's not being addressed. And you're going to be very happy that most of it's addressed, right? Like we got it. So people should also go to the frequently asked questions page. You go to our website, the town's website, portsmouthri.gov. Yeah. You go to the curbside and recycling. What is it? Is
it the waste and diversion manager, which we hired?
Yeah, right under services there. You go there and you can see all the questions.
Yeah, right now you'll ring to DPW. We don't have this person hired yet, but almost every manager in town hall has worked on this program, so just
reach out, get your questions, and again, sign up sooner rather than later, because there will be a pain point on July 1st if you have not.
Yeah, it's going to be very awkward for somebody, because they're going to come in and they're going to want to sign up, and of course they can sign up, and we're going to do everything we can to get them their service, but they may be holding on to their trash for a week longer than they expected to, because we've got to fold them into a route. I mean, here's the worst case scenario. You live on a street and then 20 of your neighbors sign up. That's going to completely change the route. So you who've signed up early may have a pickup day on Monday, but now it's going to be Thursday.
So you're hearing it right here, right now. Do it, right?
Please sign up.
Rich, it's such a pleasure.
Thank you.
We might do this again. A little more trash talk.
Always.
All right. Thank you very much. This has been Portsmouth This Week. Sign up for that curbside pickup. We'll talk to you soon.